Mm. Okay, so I'm surviving. I'm making it through, you guys. This is like my mermaid coffee because we're going to be talking about a lot of 12th house energy, which is Pisces. We're going to be talking a lot about third house energy, Gemini, Virgo, Cancer. Okay. And we're also going to be talking about, as you can see from the title, the Black Swan. Last year, when I saw the Black Swan, it was my first time seeing it, and I had been wanting to see it since it came out, but I never saw it. I'm not really a movie person. I'm not the type to like sit at home and watch movies as a hobby. I have other hobbies that I gravitate towards like a lot, and movies wasn't one of them. But when I but I still watch them, and lately it's I made it a point to watch like the classics and like some that people really like and things like that, right? Um so last year, early last year, I decided to watch Black Swan. And I don't really, again, I don't watch a lot of movies, I don't watch a lot of TV. A good amount, a fair amount, whatever. I have never like cried this much during a movie. If anything, I'll cry like, and I don't really cry during movies. If anything, I'll cry like once or twice. Maybe there was one other movie out there that I cried like three times, but it was like just like maybe some light crying or something. And actually, that's not true. There's another movie that I did cry a fair amount, and it was after a breakup. I gotta find what movie that is if you guys want me to talk about it. But this one, like, oh my god, I cried the whole time, and it was a lot each time. So I was like, fuck. And I got really into it. So after the movie, I looked up like what the movie was like what was really going on because it's a psychological thriller. It's like messing with your mind, and it really didn't end off like with a clear note. And when I went on um, Google, when I went on TikTok, it was kind of the same thing. So no one really knew what was going on, right? But I'm a master number 33, right? I've been through a lot of shit, right? Okay, so we're gonna get into it. We're strictly, and I'm telling this to myself, strictly going to talk about the psychology and the symbolism and the realism in the movie Black Swan. I have had my own personal experiences, but we are not going to get into that in here, okay? At all. Okay, if you get curious, maybe I have a video already out there giving a little clue. But as of right now, I'm gonna just talk about this, okay? But just know that this is from my lenses, my own personal experience is shaping the way I filter out the information and talk to you guys. So, it's very personal to me. You may not agree, but I think it's very interesting, my take on it, because I haven't seen any answers out there, and it's been a year, maybe a little over a year, that I saw the movie once for the first time. And I have gone through some shit since then. So, yeah. I feel like I did kind of get my own satisfaction from it, and I have like hella notes. So we're gonna get into it. And yeah, I wish I could like see the movie playing so I can like play, pause, play, pause. I don't know how to do that. I'm a beginner. But we're just gonna go through my notes. And hopefully you guys have already seen the movie. If you haven't seen it, I'm not sure if I already mentioned it, but it is free on YouTube. So you could just type in the movie on YouTube and you'll find it for free and watch it. Or you can let it play and like pause and go and pause and go. So you'll have like me talking and then the movie. And the notes is literally gonna be like scene, 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 scene. Like there was so much in every freaking scene So I'm assuming this video is gonna be long as fuck. There might be like 3 parts or something. Or just one long ass video. I don't really know. But yeah. So the psychology of Black Swan, part one. So the movie starts off with a dream. And Nina, the person who ends up being the Swan Queen in the ballet, she's in white, okay? And then the man is in black, okay? And he suddenly turns into a black creature, and then she wakes up and she's cracking her feet, okay? And so we start off with a lot there. Um, Me, I'm a big astrology girly. I'm not the best. I'm not the most professional, but I'm in it, okay? So, it starts off with a dream. Dream is associated with Pisces. Pisces is the 12th zodiac. So, Pisces has already gone through all the cycles and they kind of embody all of the energies, right? So, the movie starts off with the end, okay? But she is still in it and she's still having to go through the cycle, okay? So dreams have to do with Pisces. The subconscious mind has to do with Pisces. Every part of our body is ruled by a different zodiac sign, and it starts from our head to our feet. Okay, so the final zodiac sign is associated with the feet, which is Pisces, right? Also, Pisces has like the mermaid is associated with like mermaid vibes, and we're gonna get into that later. So she has a dream, Pisces energy, and then she's cracking her feet, right? So it goes from spiritual to like the physical, right? And there's something going on, and it's trying to tell her something of the end, right? Because she is doing the play at the end. That's like the final scene. Okay, so that's one clue. Okay, I'm gonna guide you guys through it, and then you guys can see if you figure it out at the end what I'm trying to say. But you guys are gonna see bullet point by bullet point my perspective. Okay. And then right after the dream, she is having breakfast. She wakes up, she goes to have breakfast. Her mom was making breakfast and she's eating, okay? She's telling her mom about the dream, and but she said it wasn't, she said she was doing the Black Swan, right? Which is what she was working towards, being the Swan Queen. But she said it was more like another play where someone casted a spell. Hmm. And at the end, all we see is the Swan Queen. But did we forget about the beginning of the movie where she said, but it was more like this other play that is about like someone in a spell, something like that. I was like, okay. And also as she's talking, her mom is wearing black, just like in her dream, in the subconscious, the person was wearing black. Okay. Um, yeah. Okay, and then after that, after Nina is having her breakfast, um, she's gonna go to her ballet practice, or she's gonna go somewhere. I don't think I wrote it down. But yeah, I think she was going to ballet practice and her mom wanted to go. She was kind of like, "Are you sure you don't want me to go with you?" She said something like that, right? So the mom like kind of wants to go, but she wants to put it on Nina. "Are you sure you don't want me to go?" And then straight from there, Nina goes to the train station. This is very important, okay? Also, I do, I've studied hypnotherapy for years. I'm big on hypnosis. And so, we're gonna get into astrology, psychology, and all that other stuff and how it works, okay? So after breakfast, and her mom wanted to go with her, and after the dream, she gets on a train. So what is a train? A a train is kind of like when we're driving and then we get to our destination and we forget how we got there, right? Because when we're driving and when we're doing other things, sometimes we're in a light hypnosis state. So she is on the train, and to me that's like a light hypnosis state. It's traveling. It's kind of like more of a subconscious area of our mind, right? She's not going for a walk. She's not being mindful. Someone else is also driving the vehicle, which is, I think, important. And then that's the first time she sees someone that looks like her on the train. So there's another subconscious vibe, and then someone else wearing black. So it goes from the subconscious in her dream, someone wearing black, her mom in real life wearing black, and then on the train, subconscious vibes, someone that looks like her that's wearing black. So that's more like she's not seeing things clearly. That's that Pisces energy again on the train. Okay? Because we're going to figure this out. Oh, we're going to figure this out. And then, okay, so this is number 4. Now, when she gets off the train and she's going to ... train. So now she's physically training, right? Train. Cool. Because she could have got a cab, right? She was like in New York or LA. She could have got a cab. But she was on the train. She's getting ready with all the girls, and all the girls are talking shit. And then, like, I feel like the girl who was saying, who was, like, talking the most shit, and she was like, oh, well, she's getting older. And it was, I think her name was Veronica, and she ended up, like, at first she was going to be the Swan Queen, but then she ended up not being the Swan Queen, right? I feel like she embodied the Black Swan the most, right? And so she probably got that part by doing something in the background, right? Because I never felt like she embodied any part of the white swan, and they also didn't show her doing that. So we didn't see that, right? We're not seeing things clearly. How when Tama said that she was gonna be the Swan Queen, we never saw her audition, and we saw Nina do both. I think we saw Lily do both. I'm not sure, but we never saw Veronica. So maybe she did something behind the scenes to get that character, and maybe she embodied more the Black Swan. And I think that is important to note, although I don't want to make any more comments about it, right? For now, it's just her embodying more the Black Swan, and then Nina embodying more the White Swan. And then this is the first scene where Lily enters the chat. So Lily, her first line in the entire movie is what? Soloist. Okay? And I want you guys to know where I'm coming from with this. So, soloist. And we're talking about astrology. Leo energy is, the astrology is also linked to like all the planets. So Leo energy is ruled by the sun, and then Aquarius energy is ruled by Uranus, sometimes associated with Saturn, sometimes, which is important, but also tarot. And in tarot, the card that is associated with Aquarius is like the star card, because Aquarius is also associated with stars, not just Leo. Leo is associated with the sun, which is a star, in the daytime, right? Masculine energy. In the nighttime, Aquarius is associated with the stars in the sky, so it's like multiple stars in the sky, right? So Lily comes in, and her first line is soloist, okay? And then she goes, great. So that tells us a lot too, right? She was already assuming, and we're gonna get maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I apologize. Okay, and then next scene after that, after they're getting ready, and then some of the girls are talking shit, and then Nina is like being optimistic, like, well, you can still be a ballerina later on into your 50s, but they were being more negative, she was being more positive, okay? That's important. Okay, so then this is the first scene where we see Tama. And now the girls are out of their little, getting ready area and they're all training together. And then Tama comes in and he is describing what they're practicing for, okay? So the white swan is a virgin, sweet girl, and only true love can break the spell. Um, Her wish is nearly granted, but before the black swan, um, we could say succubus energy. That's like a popular thing right now, but I'm still getting familiar with the term. But it does remind me of mermaid energy. So the black swan tricks and sleeps with the guy, and the white swan kills herself. That's what that play is about. So there we go. Was it the best way to go about things? We don't know. We gotta wait till the end. So next, um, yeah. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but hopefully I remember this at the end and I get tied in. So next, Nina sees Beth. So when Tomas was talking about the play, that's over with. Now after their training, and he describes what the play is about. Training is over. They're probably packing their bags and getting ready to leave. At that point, Nina sees Beth. Beth is the person who was the Swan Queen before. But Beth is like noticeably older than all the other girls, so I'm assuming that she was probably the Swan Queen for a couple of years. And she had like a pretty good, decent amount of time, but I'm not a ballerina, I don't know how it works. That's just what I'm assuming. I'm not sure if that's true or correct. All right. So after practice and all the younger girls are there, Beth was probably going through her own mental breakdown already, and Nina walked in on it, and she's like, you see like glass breaking. That was the first scene, and that's very important. So the first time we see Beth, the first thing we see is glass, and it's shattering. The first scene we see for Lily is her saying soloist. Great. Those are her first two words in the entire movie. That's the first thing she says. And then we see Beth breaking glass. Okay? And then that's when Nina steals Beth's lipstick. Okay? I'm not wearing any lipstick today. But anywho. Okay, so in face reading, because we're getting into as much symbolism as I can get. Okay? So in face reading, when our lips are super colorful, people can that usually symbolizes that people can tell what you're feeling and people know what you're feeling. Okay? And when your lips really don't have any color or no discoloration, or it literally matches this, then people don't usually, like, they have no clue what you're feeling. Okay? So Nina stealing specifically any piece of makeup, she stole the lipstick. So this has to do with feeling. This has to do with emotion. This has to do with and lipstick is something you put on. So I don't know if it has to do with like Beth, the way she was like feeling, or the way she was like showing, like putting on a show of how she was feeling, something like that, something theatrical and feeling. And then that specifically is what Nina took, something that had to do with feeling and emotion. And the first thing we see about Beth is her expressing some sort of emotion in breaking glass. But Nina didn't know what was going on. And she steals the lipstick. Very important. Very. All right. So next scene, um, Nina is dancing with a man, and he's wearing black and white. So that man is symbolizing some sort of energy with both, okay? And then this is the second scene that Lily is in the movie. Okay, so this is our second introduction to her. And it's kind of similar to the first introduction, which she seems very confident and like, I don't give a fuck, right? Which is very powerful if it's real, or if it's more real than the other person's. There's levels to this. I can feel the ops getting scared. Let me tone it down a little bit. Just kidding. And then Tomas, when Nina, okay, so when Lily comes in, Nina was dancing, and then there was a disruption, and then Nina goes, "Do you want me to like continue what I was doing?" And Tomas dismisses her, and he says, "No, thank you." What do you say? "No, thank you, I'm good." No, thank you, I'm good. Okay. Period. Go off, Tomas. And then, yeah, instead of nurturing her in that moment, he discarded her. So, in the very beginning, this was not his first scene, but in the very beginning, he had already discarded Nina. Okay? Or just kind of like turned away from her. And so, um, I think in the beginning of the movie, but at some point before this, we do see that Nina started to already get a rash here, right? And then in this scene, the second scene that Tama is in, and that happened where Lily walked in and then he kind of discarded Nina for the first time, we see someone, one of the ballerinas, that is not Nina. I mean, that is not Lily, because later on we see Lily does have a back tattoo, but it's not her. Someone else there has a back tattoo. I don't think it looked like Nina's, but it was like black and it was on her back. So that was another thing that was kind of like, let's acknowledge that, okay? Oh gosh. I have a feeling this is gonna be like 3 hours long. Let's see. Let's hope. Let's hope not. Okay. So, and then I think this is the second time that Nina passes someone, sees someone that kind of like looks like her. So this all happened. This is the first scene where Lily. So the first scene, Lily is saying, "Soloist, great." The next scene, Lily walks in front of Thomas and he discards Nina. She said, "Do you want me to try again?" "No, thank you. I'm good." Okay. And like when you're like with like a tutor, like when you're like one on one and you're getting that like real attention, um, they'll usually be more patient. There's not anyone else or anything else, and then they're not gonna be like, "Oh no, I'm good." They may be like, "Okay, next topic, we gotta stay on good timing," but they're not gonna be like, "Oh no, I'm good." They're gonna be like, "Are you good? Do you feel like you understand this?" Right? He wasn't nurturing her as her teacher. And so After this, Nina sees someone for the second time, right? This is the second time we see Lily, and then this is also the second time where Nina sees someone that looks like her. And she goes home and she goes crying to her mom. So, as far as we know in the movie, her mom is nurturing her, right? This man didn't do it, as far as I saw. But when she goes home and she cries to her mom is nurturing her, right? But her mom was wearing black throughout the whole movie. Okay. And then now Nina is in her room. Okay? So this is the second scene that we see Nina in her room. And she's practicing and she's like spinning, and maybe she feels safer in her room, but like in the beginning of her spinning, it was very quiet in the house. The door, I think, was open, and she seemed very controlled in her spinning. So that was like important. And then she falls, and she falls quietly. And this whole thing is quiet. But as soon as she falls, her mom is like, oh, what happened? And she comes in and she's acting nurturing again when Nina falls. So the first time Nina's crying, no, the first scene with the mom, Nina's telling her about her dream and her mom dismisses it. Okay? As soon as she says something about the spell work, oh, it was more like it was the Swan Queen, but it was more like this play, the one with the magic and the spells. And then the mom's not being nurturing. She discards her just like Tama does in his first scene. So in his first scene and the mom's first scene, they dismiss her, discard her, not really nurturing her, paying attention to her. Now, in the second scene with the mom, when she comes in after that practice and he discarded her basically, and she's crying, the mom seems nurturing. Now, the scene after that, Nina is practicing. She seemed controlled for like not that long. You know what I mean? She was barely able to hold it. And the as soon as she falls, the mom acknowledges that. She did not acknowledge her powerful energy, but she did acknowledge her falling. So she only acknowledges her, as far as I could see in those three scenes, when she's seeming weak. But in the beginning, when she's talking about the dream and she's starting, she just is like trying to acknowledge something and the mom doesn't. So Nina's trying to acknowledge something subconsciously, like, oh, I had this dream, oh, it was kind of weird. And the more you talk, the more you kind of can make sense of things depending on who you are. But yes. So the Gemini energy to me, and then the Virgo energy. So the white swan by itself to me is Virgo energy, because the white swan symbolizes the virgin and someone very sweet and stuff like that, right? So Virgo and Gemini are both associated with Mercury, the planet Mercury. And the planet Mercury symbolizes communication, it symbolizes intellect, right? So the white swan to me is Virgo. And then the swan queen to me is Gemini, because Gemini is the twins. And there's a very sweet, innocent twin that fully embodies that. And then there's a gangster twin, right? And this is the healthy form that I have in my head, right? This is not Geminis who are like making up lies and spreading rumors. Like that's like toxic Gemini. We're not talking about that. The Swan Queen is embodying Gemini energy in the Gemini Queen energy, right? So it's both twins, because the Swan Queen has to be able to embody both. And so I think that it starts off like one way, but it's another. So in real life, Mila Kunis, I don't know if she's a Virgo. I should have looked it up first, but let's look it up. So in the movie, I would say Mila Kunis, who is Lily in the movie, she would be more the Virgo energy in real life, right? But she's portraying herself to be like this fun, lighthearted, confident person, cutesy, if you will, which is the kind twin. But she wears darker colors, she smokes inside, she's more openly sexual, and that would be the dark twin, right? So I think in real life, like in actuality in the movie, I think Mila Kunis had the Virgo energy, but she was trying to pretend that she was Gemini energy. This is not me talking shit about Virgos. It's actually one of my favorite signs. So, um, but there's like toxic Virgo energy, there's toxic Gemini energy, right? So there we go. And then I know for sure that the person who plays Nina, sometimes I forget her name, but I love her as an actress. But the person who's playing Nina, she for sure has Gemini energy in real life, which is perfect, right? And then the person who plays Beth, who is also Swan Queen. So the Swan Queen before, oh, what's her name? Let's do some research. I guess I might have to. Let's see. So Winona Ryder, birth chart. She should have Gemini energy. Well, she has a Pisces moon, so that's that dual energy. She has her Saturn in Pisces. I mean, her Saturn in Gemini. Okay, let's look at Mina Kunis real quick. Should have done this first. Birth chart. Sometimes celebrities do change their information online, so their birth chart may or may not be accurate, okay? But Mila Kunis has always given Virgo energy, in my opinion. So let's hope she does have that. Okay, she does. Her Mercury and her Venus is Virgo, okay? So, yes, let's continue. Okay, so I think the actual Swan Queen the entire time is Nina. Okay. It's never gonna be motherfucking Lily. Never. Okay, because even though Virgo does have that beautiful mercurial energy, she's just not Gemini. She's powerful in her own way and a queen in her own way, but the place specifically is the Swan Queen, which is going to be Gemini, because you have to be able to embody both. And Virgo is the virgin. They can be good in the sex industry and they have that dualistic energy anyways, right? But it's not going to come off like a Gemini, and she was coming off like a Gemini to me. So, oh, and after, oh, that was some real shit. Anywho, okay, so, now Nina is from her house where she went home crying, where she had the control spins, where she fell, and her mom was being nurturing twice during her being at home during that time when she was seemingly weak, and the mom was nurturing her. But the mom isn't supposed to be nurturing Nina if Nina is a Gemini, because a Gemini can nurture themselves, right? One twin is sweet, and when that sweet twin is hurt, the gangster twin comes out and they protect themselves, right? A gangster, okay. And so there we go. And they're unapologetic about it. And Nina says sorry all the time in the movie. So now Nina goes to practice for the second time during this movie. We're still in the beginning. And her teacher, a girl teacher, is grown. She's older compared to Nina. And she's a lot more older, so we can physically see that she's older. Um, and she calls her a sweet girl. And the mom had already called her a sweet girl in the beginning of the movie. Now the teacher is calling her a sweet girl. And these are both older women, like noticeably older women. So they're at least have to be like 20 years older than her. If they're, I don't know. But yeah, so a sweet girl, it's almost like they're calling her good girl. So it's almost like when a man calls us good girl. Like we kind of like it. I like it. But now with the psychology of it, it does kind of like rub me the wrong way, especially because there's a lot of men who will call you good girl or pure with intentions of like manipulating you. But they won't say that. But you can feel that. So now, in this scene, the second time we see Nina going into practice, now she's wearing black and white, just like the man that she was practicing with in the first time she was dancing. How I mentioned that there was a man she was dancing with wearing black and white, and that was something we should pay attention to. Now she goes to practice for the second time, and she's the one wearing black and white. So she was starting to embody that Gemini energy, right? And she's also wearing Beth's lipstick. So this has to do with emotion. So I believe that she was feeling the need to be there for herself, which is why she was wearing black and white. And then after practice, Nina goes to Ma's office, and she tried to talk to him to change his mind, but he specifically said, "That's it. You're not going to try to change my mind, right?" And so she said that she just wants to be perfect. I think she said that she wants to be perfect, or there was something about her wanting to be perfect in that scene. And then he kisses her, and she bites him, right? So she was coming off still very much like the sweet, innocent twin. And then when he kisses her, she protected herself by biting him. So I believe that she did what was best for her, the best she could in that moment. And then after that, her lipstick is gone. And he said that Veronica got the scene. The person who I said in the beginning was embodying more of just the black um, Swan energy, which I don't know exactly what that is. It could be Capricorn. It could be Scorpio. Um, but I have a sweet spot for Scorpio, so I'm like, I don't want to say Scorpio, but it could be Scorpio. It could be. Or a mixture of like those energies. And so she congratulates Veronica. We don't know how Veronica got it, but as far as we know, Tama has a reputation. Mm? So I don't know. I don't know how she got it. I didn't see her audition. I don't know how good she is at being the white swan, but I know she'd probably be good at being the black swan, even though I didn't see it. So there we go. But Nina ends up getting the Swan Queen, and then Lily shows up for the third time when she gets the Swan Queen. And something about those haters, they stay close and they stay watching you. So she sees that she got the part. And then Nina goes to the bathroom and she calls her mom. I think the bathroom is very significant because there's always a bathroom with a fucking scene. But I was also watching another movie that had a lot of bathroom scenes, so I might be getting it confused. And when she leaves the stall from talking to her mom and telling her that she got the part of the Swan Queen, in the mirror we see the infamous whore written on the mirror, another mirror scene. Okay, the first one was with Beth, and then after that she stole her lipstick. The second one was after what happened with Nina. That was the first time we see her wearing the lipstick that she stole. And she was wearing it, but then it's gone, like almost immediately, because of whatever just happened. Tamal tried to kiss her. And we see horror written on the mirror. So mirror and lipstick are okay. Try not to lose my train of thought so much. So the lipstick is a similar color. I don't think it's an exact color, but it's a very similar color to the one that Nina took. So I think it's kind of maybe a reflection of how she was feeling. Like maybe she was feeling like she got the part because she was being a whore or something like that. But yeah. Sometimes mirrors are associated with portals. And if you guys are like having your own ideas, clues, thoughts, words, feelings about this, comment. Comment section. Maybe we could do more videos or something. I don't know. But yeah, so now the second scene, mirror, lipstick, how she was feeling and how she was seeing herself, maybe. And then after that, Nina goes home. And there's all these drawings of Nina. And then she goes to the bathroom and we see her back is like bleeding, right? So the mom is like obsessed with her, apparently. And then she's getting this irritable feeling again. So her mom being obsessed with her, like, and later on we see the mom's mood swings, right? So maybe like having someone so entitled to your being, your life, and then being obsessed with you. But if you say something, they're gonna get upset. So you have to like be apologetic and accommodating and like what the fuck, you know? So Nina had experienced this before. We're just barely seeing this in the movie. Her mom's mood swings, and we still hadn't seen her mom's mood swings up until this point yet. So we don't know what to think of the mom. Um, and then yeah, so the mom now has this cake. It's pink, it's cute. And Nina doesn't want any cake, and then the mom gets upset. And she was celebrating Nina apparently, but then she ended up making it about her, right? And then she gets upset because Nina didn't want any cake. Nina was doing what she felt was best for her, and she gave her a pretty big piece. If she was going to give her a piece of cake, give her what she asked for, a certain amount. And then because she said, at least just give me like a small amount, the mom was like upset. So like, what is she supposed to do? Stuff herself, make herself full with what her mom wanted, right? So she also said, my daughter, the Swan Queen. My daughter, the Swan Queen. Not Nina, the Swan Queen, right? There's a big difference. Because my daughter, the Swan Queen, is ownership. Nina, the Swan Queen, is her own person. When there's a star, when there's a celebrity doing the show, they're not going to say their parents' name and then theirs. It's going to say their name, and if anything, the band, whatever the band is going to go by. Okay, so now, next part, the mom can embody nice, like, and mean. So the mom can come off nurturing, and she can come off like a bitch and whatever. But Nina can't be the sweet girl that the mom described her as in the beginning, and still is describing her as and wanting to see her as just one of the twins. But the gangster twin is like, you know, she's saying she just wants a piece of cake that's small. And then the mom gets upset. And so Nina's probably trying to protect herself in some way. I mean, cake isn't always that good for you in big pieces. So she's trying to protect herself, but she can't, or else the mom gets upset. So the mom can do something, but Nina can absolutely not do it at all. She has to be half of a person. And even that sweet side, I mean, she's around somebody who is crazy. So that sweet side, is it even like, how genuine is it, right? Because after this, when the mom gets upset and she's gonna throw away the entire cake, she did not get a piece of cake for herself at all. just for Nina. She's like, here you go. It's almost like giving somebody poison, and then you're like, well, you take a sip first. And they're like, no, I don't want to take a sip. So the mom could be like skinny, looking for her after her health, even though Nina looked more the part. And the mom absolutely did not. The mom looked like she was about to go into the garbage afterwards and sneak the rest of the cake in her room while she cries and draws Nina. But we don't see that. And so Nina apologizes. She calls her a good girl and all that. Okay? Next. So now Nina apologizes. So now she submits to the mom again. Like, yes, yes, ma'am. And then the mom says, oh, I'm just so proud of you. But she's you could tell she's not genuine. She's saying, I'm just so proud of you. So that's not the reason why. She's hiding it behind a mask. And then Nina says, that looks so yummy. But both of them were saying it in an insincere way. Okay? So yeah. And insincere sounds a lot like incest. So there's a lot of things like emotional incest that goes on. There we know about physical incest, but we're talking about psychological stuff. So this is emotional incest. And they're both being insincere. Inside. Insincere. So that's what's going on within. And then incest is like within the family, right? So now the mom is smiling, but she's a monster. That's literally what I wrote down. And then next, Nina is dancing again for the third time. And before we saw her with dancing with a man who was black and white. Now she's dancing with a man who's full in a black outfit. And so there we go. And she, in that scene, genuinely seems to be running away from that energy. So in the beginning, when she was dancing with a man who was in black and white, I think it was more of a calm scene. But after that happened with her mom, she's dancing with a man who is wearing all black. And then it's not so much of a calm scene for her. She seems kind of like she's running away, actually, from that man who's wearing all black. And then she looks like she's about to submit, but then it stops. So just like she submitted to her mom, the scene just before that, she looks like she's about to submit again. So I think when she's around her mom, she kind of feels like running away. Just like physically when we see her and the guy's wearing all black, she was kind of like running away. And yeah, we're going to tie that back in later, okay? So the first time we see the woman teacher, she called her a sweet girl. But now after the scene with her mom and she declined the cake and then they were both like insincere about it. So it was probably one of the first times Nina stood up for herself, I'm not sure. But the teacher didn't call her a sweet girl. And in that second scene that we see her in that second scene, so there's only two. The first scene she did call her a sweet girl. In the beginning the mom did call her a sweet girl. But then, you know, the second scene that we see the teacher after this, she's not calling her a sweet girl. And I think also the teacher was wearing all black. So there's something, I think, okay, so Beth is in this scene. I think this is the second scene that Beth is in the entire movie. And this is when we see him call her his little princess. His little princess. Just like the mom said, oh, my daughter, Nina the Swan Queen. Something like that, right? Or my daughter, the Swan Queen. So she starts off the sentence saying mine. And then the scene after that we see him. So first we see her saying that. Next scene that we see Tomas, he's saying the little exact same thing to Beth. He's saying he's saying my little princess. He's starting it off with my little princess. He's not just calling her a princess. That would be fine. But he's saying it's his little princess, right? And then Beth leaves upset. Oh, the older woman who lost her part is upset. Whoa. Um, shut the fuck up. Anywho, now Lily is laughing with the men in the crowd. So all this subconscious energy, it's almost like Lily is she's laughing, but um Nina is like irritated by it. You know what I mean? Like when someone's mocking you, when someone's laughing at you, when someone's mimicking you, repeating stuff that you say, like any all that type of energy, the person who's being mimicked, laughed at, pushed, pushed over, they're going to be irritable at that person. But we don't see none of that going on. We don't see Lily physically pushing Nina. We don't see any aggression from her yet, right? So there we go. And then also during the scene, Nina's playing with her fingers, right? And then specifically her middle finger is what's bleeding, okay? So we got into a lot of symbolism, face reading, this, that. Oh my gosh, people always text me when it's too late. Okay, so or I move around too much. But anywho, um, so Nina's playing with her middle finger that's bleeding, and what does the middle finger symbolizes? The middle finger is, according to ChatGPT, is associated with Saturn. Saturn is the Capricorn energy, right? Which has to do with your career. It has to do with your reputation. It has to do like you care about the way people see you, right? But it also has to do with karma. It has to do with structure. And the structure part is gonna come in later. Okay, but she's picking at it. It's almost like something irritable about it that's coming to the surface. So something about that Capricorn energy is coming to the surface, right? So it's like, yeah, we're gonna get into that later. And as far as I know, I feel like Geminis do love Capricorn energy, and it really is like father energy to everyone. But there's something special with Gemini. I don't know if it because Gemini symbolizes a lot of things, but it also symbolizes children. It could be Leo that symbolizes children, but I think it's Gemini. Um, that one always confuses me. But yeah, so we gotta pay attention to that. I don't know why, I don't really remember. But we're gonna tie it in later. I have a lot of notes. And let me drink some coffee. We're an hour in. And like I said, I stayed up all night, you guys. Fuck. What do you guys think so far? Are you guys still sticking with me? Yeah, this is definitely gonna be like 3 hours. Yeah, okay. So now we're at the, maybe like anger or irritation or something coming to the surface because it's that redness, that irritation, that we're like seeing, and it's that Saturn Capricorn energy. Okay, so now Tama, so now, hold on. Okay, so Nina. Okay, so after the little situation with Tama doing the little speech and calling Beth his little princess, in the same time that he's doing the speech, Lily is laughing. In the same time that Lily is laughing, for the first time we see Nina picking at her middle finger. And so fingernails, right? And so Beth is irritable, his little princess. Lily's laughing, and it's irritating Nina. So there's something there. And then after Toma's little speech, they're leaving. But as before they're leaving, Tama leaves somewhere, and Nina's seeing this statue. It's like a stone, right? And to me, Capricorn is the oldest form. Well, in general, Capricorn is the oldest form of Earth. So it's Taurus, then Virgo, then Capricorn. It's the oldest form of dirt. And so that means it's really hard to move. A lot of the times they're associated with like stones, rocks. They come off like cold, you know what I mean? And but they have to do with the career, the reputation. So a lot of the times to protect your career and your reputation, you have to come off cold and stuff like that because it's opposite Cancer, which means Cancer comes off very sweet, very light, and then opposite Capricorn comes off very cold stone, right? But um yeah, so in this scene after Tomas' speech, we see her with the Saturnian energy, the Capricorn energy, getting irritable. There's something that she needs to pay attention to, or else her fingers would be fine. And now we see the statue with no arms, and Gemini symbolizes the arms, but it's also because it's the dual sign, so it's like the arms and the lungs. It's an air sign, so we have like the lungs like on both sides like that. So that's Gemini, the shoulders and the arms, and I think the hands is Gemini. But we see the first example of the Capricorn energy, unless Veronica is kind of hinting at the Capricorn energy. I'm not sure. It could be Scorpio. It could be Capricorn. But so that statue, it has wings, right? So the arms are missing, which symbolize Gemini, but air also symbolizes Gemini energy, and we only see the wings, right? And then Beth comes over and she's upset, and that happens, okay? And then Tama basically like discarded her, I believe. Like he kind of just like didn't nurture her. Like not truly. Not truly. Kind of like how the mom does with Nina. She nurtures her, but it's fake. There's something fake about it. There's something not nurturing about it. Which to me, Capricorn and Cancer are the most nurturing signs. They symbolize the mother and the father. Capricorn is the father. Cancer is the mother, right? And mothers, the bad side, the toxic side of Cancers is that sometimes, and I'm a Cancer, sometimes we can be like entitled, right? For whatever reason. And then Capricorn. So with the mom being the toxic Cancer energy, Tamaz being the toxic Capricorn energy, right? So that's important. And then now after they leave the little speech that Tama did, and Nina was waiting for him, and Beth came over, and there was a statue, Capricorn, with the arms missing and the wings, Gemini, okay? And so now the Capricorn and the Gemini energy leave together, which is Nina and Tama, and they go to Tama's place, which is super unprofessional. And he is talking about her love life, her sex life, I think, stuff like that, like really personal questions. But like, if me as a woman, if I feel so entitled to know about information about a guy, and it's kind of overbearing. I've seen guys in that situation, and it's like they try to get out of it. You know, they do feel like they're getting taken advantage sometimes, and it's like very subconscious, but it's present because guys, there's a lot of guys that struggle with sticking up for themselves too, and can really uh relate to the Black Swan energy, even though they're a man, not a woman. It's totally different, but in their own way. I'm sure that I've seen that women can be overbearing, and they're not even a man's mother, you know. But that type of dynamic can go on. So Tama, if Nina was embodying the gangster twin too, and communication Gemini, she could have asked those same questions to Tama, He could have asked the personal questions about, oh, Veronica, how did she get the Swan Queen? Did she do anything? Did she convince you in any way? Because it was about to be her. Oh, Veronica, like, did you guys, like, how did that happen? What was the actual dynamic? Because Nina doesn't actually know, and she doesn't actually ask Tama, right? She has this idea that he's like a good person and someone to look up to, but he's not, because he had already tried kissing her, and he had already discarded her, and he had already discarded Beth. You know what I mean? So what the fuck? But if she was to ask him that, that's not okay, subconsciously. But him asking her that, and him telling her what to do with her body to touch herself, why? Like, for real, why? Like, I'm sure there's a reason that's healthy and a reason that's toxic, and I'm pretty sure his reason was toxic. I don't know. I don't know. But then he discards her again, right? She wasn't being sexual. She wasn't this, that. She was being shy, reserved. She was doing her best to protect herself, I'm assuming. And then he tells her to get into a cab and that they need to be able to talk about these things. What does that have to do with ballet and the Swan Queen? But he has a reputation, which has to do with Capricorn energy. It has to do with career, reputation, also, okay? And then, but if things were the other way around, he wouldn't have responded in a nice way. He probably would have been like, yo, mind your business. You know, I'm the teacher or some shit. He would have had some boundaries. So, anyways, now we see the mom again after Tama. So it's like Tama and the mom. Now we're back at the Cancer energy, the other parent. Yeah. And then the mom said something about he probably wanted you all to himself. I don't blame him. She understands him on a psychological level, I'm assuming. But she also was a ballerina, but her saying I don't blame him, it means she understands him in some way mentally. But what does she mean by that? You know what I mean? We know that he probably would have liked to sleep with her, like how I mentioned earlier, but he ended up discarding her and saying just get a cab and go home and touch yourself. You know? Like, what the fuck? And then so when the mom said he probably wanted you all to himself, I don't blame him. The mom is not letting Nina undress herself. She's trying to undress Nina, probably like Tama wanted to do. He probably wanted to undress her and have his way with her. So, the last scene we see with Taman, who was giving the speech, there was some irritation with her fingernails. Now her mom, so it's like almost Tama was after her. He discards her. The mom was after her, and then Nina is cutting her fingernails so that Nina could be a sweet girl, right? But she's only allowed to be a sweet girl. She's not allowed to be that gangster, right? So she's allowed. I'm going to get back to this. I don't think it's the right moment to bring this up right now. I'm going to bring this up, what I mean by this, in a little bit. Okay, so give me a chance. Give me some time. Okay. So now the mom is watching Nina sleep. Okay. Sleep. Okay, so black cats and cats in general are associated with like feminine energy and the astral realm, and like they're good to have around when you're sleeping. They're supposed to protect you while you're sleeping. So Nina just cut off her nails before sleeping, okay? Why is she cutting her nails? What do our nails do, right? And what do our teeth do? They protect us in a way. They're the most hard parts of our body that are outside of our body. After that, it's our bones. Those are inside of our body, right? And so when Nina protected herself, when Tama try to kiss her, and that's how she got the Swan Queen, apparently. She used her teeth, a form of protection, right? So that was the gangster Black Swan, right? The one that comes in and protects the innocent virgin, right? That everyone wants to sleep with. Capricorns love taking people's virginities. Not saying anything negative about Capricorns, but they do love to take people's virginities. They like to be people's first. They like to, show people what to do and stuff like that. So he saw that Black Swan when she used her protection, right? When she protected herself. So that's how she got the Swan Queen. But no one recognizes that. They think that maybe she slept with him or something. Because that's also part of the dark side. The dark side, right? The whatever. But that's more Nina. I mean, that's more Lily. Lily probably would have done something like that because we see her being more comfortable, being openly sexual already, right? But not Lily. So, okay. Is it getting good? Okay. So, um, before she goes to sleep, she cuts off her nails and she goes to sleep and she wakes up to her mom there and she's like freaked out. So there's something about like that I feel like that the mom like cuz now this is the second time we see Nina sleeping. The first time there was nothing going on with Nina's nails in the very first scene of the movie, remember? And then she's telling her mom about the dream she had and her mom didn't acknowledge it at all. It's almost like it didn't even exist. And then now the second time that we see Nina sleeping, Nina had, probably was feeling like running away or something. I don't know, but she ended up cutting her nails right before she went to sleep. And then she wakes up to her mom watching her. So I'm assuming her mom was like trying to energetically maybe like pretend that she was protecting Nina. Because when you're in the hospital, when you're sick, that's when people like you see them on a chair sleeping because you're sick and you're in the hospital, but Nina's not sick and there's nothing, she's not in the hospital, but her mom is almost like reenacting that scene, like she's protecting her. And Nina, her protection was gone. So she's letting, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm trying to get at, kind of? Okay. So, the mom watches her in her sleep, and then after that, we find out that Beth is hospitalized with both of her legs broken because of a car. Tama did say something about like, oh, take a cab home when he like discarded her after the statue scene, but she got hit by a car. So instead of getting in the car, she got hit by a car, I guess. Okay, so this is very important. How I just talked about the whole protection thing and Nina protecting herself. Nina cut off her nails. So her ability to protect herself was like gone, I guess. And then Beth, you know, suddenly she's in the hospital. So it's like the mom is trying to stop Nina from being able to protect herself. And maybe something like that is going on with Beth. So Beth is now hospitalized all of a sudden and with both of her legs broken. Legs symbolize, like, what do our legs help us do? They help us walk. They help us walk forward. They help us walk backward. They help us get anywhere. So, both of her legs were broken. So, her ability to go anywhere is just gone. All of a sudden. It's like they want to keep Nina trapped. It's like they want to keep Beth trapped in some way. Instead of telling Beth, like, and nurturing her, Tama could have nurtured her and been like, hey, you did great here. You're still great. You're the Swan Queen. You could go out and play other parts. Like, you're wonderful. But instead he's like, no, no, no. And he's not communicating with her. And a lot of the times when people leave you in confusion and they don't communicate with you and you're trying to figure it out, figure it out, figure it out, you're like stuck while they're moving on. So now Beth is like, even all the way until the end of the movie, she was stuck in his web, right? And what was going to happen to Nina? So now we're clearing things up, right? Let's get some. Let's get some. Let's get some. Okay. Let's get some coffee. Ugh, take a little break. Honestly, I'm surprised I'm doing like a little good because, like I said, I have ADD. Man. Okay. Okay, anywho. Now I gotta use my nails and my teeth because. Okay. So now Beth is hospitalized. Both of her legs are broken. She was hit by a car. And what did I say about the train? What did I say about the train? It's a vehicle that someone else was driving. Nina was not driving the train. Someone else is driving the train. Beth was not in the car and gets in a car accident and breaks her legs. Someone else is driving a car, and is that driver supposed to protect her, or is Beth supposed to protect herself, right? So now her protection's gone. She wanted Tama to do it, and now she's in confusion. And both of her legs are broken, and her ability to get anywhere is gone, right? Seemingly her ability to get anywhere is gone. But the person who was driving the car, I mean, I'm sure they're still driving. I'm sure they're still living life, making moves, while Beth is stuck in confusion because no one is talking to her. Unless there's a crowd for people to see my little princess. But when she's by herself, right? Because when you're in a crowd of people, there's a lot more kind people than we'd like to believe that there are. So if he was discarding her and being the same way he was with her when it was just Nina, who's naive and going through the same thing with her mom, so she's not seeing things clearly, which is that Pisces energy again. Man, this is a lot. And yeah. So now Tama is I think he's talking to Nina at this point, and I think he's the one who told her about the car accident with Beth. But in that conversation where he told her that, he was admiring Beth's dark side, right? He was saying that it makes her perfect at times, right? But why is he saying it? The mom, if you watch the movie again, it almost seems like Nina has an interaction with her mom, and then she goes to the mirror and she sees some irritation and it's getting worse. Okay, so the mom like is getting under Nina's skin. She irritates her. Lily, when he was giving the speech and he calls Beth his little princess, and then Beth leaves upset, and Lily's laughing. Now, so it's like Tama had an interaction with Beth. She was irritated and left. Now Lily is in the crowd laughing. Another woman, feminine energy, just like the mom, feminine energy, is laughing, and now we see for the first time her picking at her fingernails, which is supposed to be protection. But she's picking at it, it's red, it's irritable. So Lily is seemingly charming and fun and lighthearted and not bothering anybody, minding her business, confident apparently, but she's not. But we'll get into that. And physically we see that there's nothing for Lily to be insecure about, right? So Lily apparently gets under Nina's skin, right? And now the only person who seemingly isn't getting under Nina's skin so far, but they're crossing boundaries, they're basically doing the same thing, is Tama. And he's like admiring another woman in front of Nina, and he's thinking that that's like pure, that, only he calls Beth his little princess, which is, not true. We come to find out, right? So, why is he admiring Beth's dark side? But it sounds negative. It sounds like toxic vibes, like, oh, toxica, right? Like, that's so cute. But she's in the hospital. So even though she was embodying that dark side, it wasn't healthy. It was confused. It was going nowhere fast. But he's admiring it. And I think that maybe, Nina maybe started to admire it, or thinking that that's what he wanted or something. And it is what he wanted, but she didn't understand why. Um and so is he trying to get under Nina's skin? He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. Just like Lily, just like the mom. Okay? We may not always know what someone else is doing, but people know what the fuck they be doing. Especially a grown ass person over 25. If you're under 25, I will give you some leeway, but some. A grown ass woman with their amygdala fully formed and man, they know what they're doing. And they've had that experience before. So be careful. Be careful with older people. Because, So, he's admiring her. Doesn't This part doesn't seem to get under Nina's skin. I don't think we see anything about her skin here. But Nina sees Beth's legs and it freaks her out. Now Nina has to get ready in the room by herself. So first, when she stole Beth's lipstick and she first got the Swan Queen, she was sharing that room. So in the beginning, she was sharing the room with all the girls, and then she's sharing the room with just Beth. And then now after Beth breaks her legs, it's just her. So in that first scene where Nina's getting ready with all the girls, that's also Lily's first entrance, right? And she says 2 words. These are her first 2 lines. We gotta go back. We're gonna circle around, okay? To fill in the blanks. And so her first 2 lines is soloist. Great. But the room is full of people. So she was already planning on getting to where right now where we're at, where Nina just barely got to. Right? So Nina was with all the girls, so was Lily, soloist, great. And then since then she's been planning on her part. But we'll get to that later. Because we're still not clear on that, right? So then, but it's in actuality, with Nina just being Nina, then she gets to share a room with Beth. And she admires Beth, She really does. Truly. And then now she is soloist, right? And so now Nina has the room to herself. And then now Nina goes home. I think this is the 3rd scene where she's at home with her mom. So now she's at home with her mom. And Nina has to get no, and now that Nina finally has the room to herself, that's pretty powerful. She can close the door, she can lock it, she can do whatever she wants, right? Get ready. Like, she's not hearing anyone else's voices like she was when she was getting ready with all the girls, and they were like being haters, basically. Now she goes home with her overbearing mother, and her mother, for some reason, is crying. Um, and she's painting Nina. But why? Why is she crying suddenly? I mean, right? And so at that point, Nina grabs a stick, and later on she uses that stick to close the door so her mom doesn't get in. So outside of her living home, she she's in ballet, and she finally gets the room to herself. When she goes home, it was like she didn't lock the door yet, but she was also making that move, I think. And she just puts the stick and she hides it, right? So it was almost like the mom could feel that energy already. In some way, she did kind of break away because she got her own room here. Now Nina knows what it feels like, and she's gonna get more used to that feeling, and she's gonna like that feeling of sovereignty, and she's gonna want to have that at home too. She is a grown woman after all, and her mom is still painting Nina, obsessing over her and crying. And Nina grabs a stick, something outside of her that is hard, like teeth and nails. It's symbolizing protection. So even though her nails are cut, she's getting the stick. And then we cut to Nina. Hold on, let me pause this and start again, just so this saves